Good morning. I'm here to record some thoughts on the latest episode of The Mandalorian. That is season 3, episode 5, titled The Pirate. Before I start in on that, I kind of wanted to address the fact that I did not put up a review last week. There were a couple of reasons for that, and I wanted to go into those before I start talking about this one because I feel like my thoughts are a little bit related to what happened last week. And so I wanted to go into that just a little bit. Um, the viewership numbers on The Mandalorian have been dropping for people that are watching the show, and so there's been a little bit less excitement about this season, and so we were kind of going back and forth about whether or not we wanted to continue to do like the pre-broadcast and the post-broadcast thoughts on the show, and I think that was probably a good decision. I think we were probably overdoing it a little bit, but besides that, in last week's episode, I think my feelings on it were quite a bit out of line with, I think, most other people's thoughts. I know a lot of people really didn't like the last episode, and I disagreed quite a bit. And it led me to question whether or not I was just a little bit out of sync with people. And that ties into this week's episode because I'm now somewhat frustrated. I really enjoyed last week's episode. I understand why some people thought that it wasn't moving the narrative forward and that that's been a problem this season. But after watching last night's episode, it seems to me like each episode in this season has been handing off. To me, episode one was a miss. Episode two, I thought was pretty great. Episode three was a miss. I liked episode four. I know a lot of people did not. Last night's episode, I was really hoping to be excited about because a number of the people involved had said that this was their favorite episode of the season. So I was kind of pumped up and prepared for something kind of big. One of the things that was somewhat gratifying about this episode for me personally was that some of the things that I have been predicting, it looks like are coming true in the narrative, and that's the direction that they're going to be going with some of the storytelling. Specifically, what I'm talking about there, well, I don't really want to spoil this part too much because I had recorded the segment last night that is to be used in the WDW Pro show tomorrow on Thursday, and that sort of ties into this episode. So I guess I'll stay quiet about that. But it does seem to me that they are positioning things to uh, begin moving towards retaking and making Mandalore habitable again in the future and to reunite the Mandalorian tribes. I think that that is something that is going to be one of the major plot points of the show as a ongoing arc. And I think another reason for that is because they're positioning the Mandalorians eventually, in my opinion, to become the new peacekeepers in the galaxy in the absence of the Jedi, at least until the Jedi Order can be reconstituted. It seems to me that their eventual roles will be to revive the Journeyman Protector class and to have them acting as defense forces, possibly in concert with the Rangers of the New Republic, if that ever gets back up off the ground, so that you have patrols that are going out, providing air support in systems. And then you have drop troops that can be dropped off in the event that they actually need to pacify an opposing force, something like that. But the problem with these plot lines is that it lays bare the whole problem that was created by the sequel trilogy. And I think that the major issue is that the idea that after the war between the rebellion and the empire, that this new republic would immediately scrap their fleets, destroy their war material, and rely on planetary defense forces to defend their own territory is just ludicrous. The idea that Mon Mothma, after prosecuting a war, would allow her pacifistic tendencies to render the entire republic uh, eh, unable to defend itself from any other aggressor, including minor powers like the pirates that are shown in this episode, is just it's really difficult to swallow. Um, because they're kind of trying. to tie these points together with the pirates, the hints of what will become the new order, all of that stuff. This episode in particular, to me, just felt contrived. Add into that the bureaucracy that has been shown to be just plaguing the New Republic. That may be somewhat believable because you've got now this what used to be a ragtag rebellion trying to now maintain the levers of gigantic bureaucracies that are responsible for administering an entire galaxy. Maybe it's realistic, but is it fun? I don't think this is the kind of storytelling that people enjoy, and I think that when you when the first word that comes to mind when I think of this episode is contrived, you're in trouble. You're struggling now to bring these narrative threads together that you've been weaving, but they're not coming together in a satisfying way. It feels like you've already determined what the outcome is. Now you're trying to get there, but it doesn't feel like you're getting there naturally. Another problem that I had with this episode is something that other people have been commenting on previous episodes. Some of the writing and dialogue in this episode were painful. And I'm not sure what's happening here. I don't know why there is such a change in quality between season three and what had gone before. Besides some of the contrived writing, it also looked to me like some of the fight choreography is just not at the level that it has been in previous seasons. So this episode is not really boosting my feelings on season three. And I had hoped by this point that we would start going on an upward arc for a really big end of season three. Maybe they'll still manage to do something satisfying by the end of the season, but they're running out of time. One final thing that I want to mention, just in case people are still hopeful for this season or this episode, there is a cameo right at the very beginning of this episode. It's not a major character from the movies or anything like that, but it is one that I think fans of Rebels will be very happy to see. And so that was an interesting choice, and I thought that the way that they brought this character onto the screen, it actually looked really good. I wasn't sure if this particular species would work in live action, but it looked pretty good to me. Anyway, those are my thoughts on episode five. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Did this sour your feelings on season three, or are you still holding out hope that they can do something in the next three episodes? Let me know. Talk to you guys later.